When people ask me what I was most worried about heading into retirement, I always say the same thing: running out of money. But now that I've been retired for 7 years, I've realized something interesting. It's rarely one big expense that drains your savings. It's the small, recurring things you never think about. And even if you're in a solid position financially, I'm going to share a few things I did that saved me thousands a year with very little effort. So let me walk you through what they are so you're not leaving money on the table. And then I'll share the one thing I believe every retiree absolutely must cut. A bit about me if we haven't met. I'm Robert Martin, 65 years old, retired at 58 after 35 years in manufacturing management. I live in Greenville, South Carolina with my wife, Linda. But I'm going to start not with cutting an expense, but with the single biggest dollar savings I found. And it took me about 5 minutes. When I retired, Linda and I had a comfortable cash reserve set aside to cover a few years of living expenses. That's normal. That's what you're supposed to do. But the embarrassing part is that money was sitting in our regular checking account, earning practically zero interest. I made one phone call to the bank, asked about their high-yield savings options, and when those weren't great, I spent another 5 minutes looking at online banks. Within a week, we had moved our reserve cash into a high-yield savings account, and were earning somewhere between $5,000 and $10,000 more per year for doing nothing. The money is still accessible, still safe. It's just actually working for us now instead of sitting there. If you've got cash sitting in a checking account or some old savings account paying next to nothing, that 5-minute phone call might be the easiest money you ever make. Now, the next thing might seem small, but it adds up fast. And I'll admit I'm a little embarrassed by this one. I'm an engineer by training. I ran operations for years. I should have had my personal finances dialed in tight. But when I finally sat down and went through our bank statements line by line, I found 4 subscriptions we were still paying for that we hadn't used in months. A streaming service we forgot we had, a magazine subscription Linda thought she'd canceled, and a couple of apps. That was almost $40 a month just evaporating. There are tools out there now that will pull all your recurring charges onto one screen so you can see exactly what's going out. I used one called Monarch Money, but there are others. The point is, sit down for 20 minutes and actually look. You might be surprised what you find. Now, this next one might sting a little because it can bruise the ego. When I turned 50, Linda suggested we sign up for AARP. My first reaction was, absolutely not. That's for old people. I was still working, still felt sharp, and I didn't want some card in my wallet telling me otherwise. But Linda signed us up anyway, and I'm glad she did. The discounts on car rentals, hotels, restaurants, even some flights, they add up to hundreds of dollars a year. You can still feel young and be smart with your money. That AARP card doesn't age you, but paying full price for things you don't have to, that gets old pretty quick. Now here's the one I'd call the must-cut item, and I still struggle with it. It's the little brown boxes that show up at the door, and at our house it felt like they were arriving daily. Amazon made it so easy to see something, click once and have it on your porch the next day. But retirement for Linda and me has been about simplifying. We actually downsized our house after the kids moved out, and going through decades of accumulated stuff was a real project. The last thing we needed was more of it showing up every day. So here's what I started doing. If I see something I want, I put it in the cart and I leave it there for 24 hours. If I still want it the same way the next day, I buy it. If I don't, I delete it. You'd be surprised how often that impulse fades overnight. It's a small habit, but over the course of a year, it saves real money. Look, retirement isn't about making massive financial changes to get everything perfect. It's about plugging these small leaks that quietly drain your savings. Maybe take 10 or 15 minutes and think through these ideas. Check your interest rates, audit your subscriptions, look into those senior discounts, and put a speed bump between you and that buy now button. Your future self will thank you.